I'd like to welcome all Rotarians in the room and on Zoom. My name is Steve Sperling, your club president for this Rotary year. Each month, Rotary highlights a theme of interest for all Rotary clubs throughout the year. And this month's theme is Rotary Foundation Month. And that is something that we highlight each November. So we'll be mentioning a little bit more about that as November goes along. The next theme slide is Unite for Good. President Francesco Areza is highlighting this theme for our Rotary year. Bill Winter will help us with the four-way test. If you could stand as you're able.
All right, four-way test. Of all the things we think, say, or do, first, is it true? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it with goodwill, better friendships? And fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? And
you could remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
So, Pepper, you can our happy thoughts total so far this year is $368 as we continue our journey towards $1,000, which is our goal for this year. First, before we begin that, John, were there any contributions from extra dollar for lunch?
Well, I gotta add up.
$8 extra contributions. Thank you. Yes.
Okay, so 8 of you get to speak if you want to. Got happy thoughts. Where are you? Vicki, start out.
My dad completed his radiation and chemo last Friday, got to ring the bell, so we're hoping for a little better pretty good.
There's 20. I was happy for so many times, but I forgot to bring cash, so I made it up for it today.
Excellent. Go, Randy.
I finally heard from Luca after being away for 3 months. She still has her boyfriend. She got her bedroom back from her brother. And she's playing a lot of handball and she misses you all.
Excellent. I'm making my way over this way. How about this table? Anybody? Oh, we're here, Allie.
Putting in a fiver. I've managed to move into Charter House, and I'm excited as much as exhausted. I'm not sure there's a good time to be moving, but this is, I think, our 10th move in 58 years. So it's good to be here. I haven't found my pin yet. I'll wear it next time.
Excellent. Just glad to hear that the 22nd floor restaurant's now open, so that makes it easier.
Amen.
Anyone over here? Hello, Janie.
Moved to Rochester, so checking out Rotary Club.
Welcome, welcome. All right, anybody over here? Going once, going twice? Since I have $1 in there, my only comments, I want to recognize all the November 11th is Veterans Day. So it's Veterans Day coming up, so recognize the veterans. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Next, we have member spotlight coming up here, and Ashok Patel is volunteered to give his member spotlight. And just to review, this is a few extra minutes beyond what the reflection typically is to get to know our Rotarian a little bit better. Thanks, Ashok.
Thanks, Steve, and then my reflection is on the vocation of medicine, but thought I'd back up a little bit and tell you a bit about my background, since there's a mayor who got elected in New York, also from Uganda. I also learned our club belongs to Zone 29. Is that right, Bill? So I just added that. I'll add that to the spot there. So I'm going to begin by just thanking all of you for making me a Rotarian, and also this has been since 2005, and it is magical, and we are doing good work that unites the world and hopefully brings us closer to peace. I was born in Uganda. I also wanted to have a shout out to Dr. O'Fallon's. So Mike, Judy, and Liam, their son. Judy and Mike were the ones that were ringing the Salvation Army bells when I made some smart aleck comment, and they said, "Why don't you become a Rotarian?" So the "Is it fun?" is really a joy, and Judy and Mike are part of that journey. The picture in the top left there is a reminder that my first name is Ashok or Ashoka, and he was a good leader in the past after he got out of his years of conflict and became a Buddhist peacemaker. And the bottom right corner is just to remind you to breathe well. Next. So Rotary's taught me a lot about how to build friendship and understanding, but more importantly, how to gather the goodwill toward peace. And meeting a lot of peace fellows and ambassadors for peace at all levels was very helpful. And April has a peace bowl, which she'll talk about later. Next. So my family and my upbringing was in Edmonton, Alberta. That's my two brothers, my sister, my mom and dad. And the bottom one, I met Christy, who's a nurse at Mayo in 1987 when I came for residency. And we have three daughters that are alive. Angela is our oldest. Megan is our middle one, and Catherine's our youngest. And then we have one in heaven, Rose. As far as medicine and cradle to career, this is my celebration of how a 40-year journey to preparing for school or turns into a career. And the intersection of basic science, applied science, and social science skills are where teamwork makes the difference beyond medicine, but also as a good Rotarian. Next. And finally, in my practice, I've seen over 10,000 patients, and each one, even on a different day, is a little different. And they all taught me much about how to actually keep the ego very humble and open and collaborative. And next. So yeah, that's my daughter's going through this stress phase of learning all the new terms and how the pieces fit together. And it does get complicated for a while. And then now with AI, Bill, it's getting a little easier, but also broader as we get to global digital platforms. Next. So my most recent adventure with travel was to Mexico City a few weeks ago, and Medica Sur is a Mayo network that had their airway symposium. So here's where the practice, the education, and opportunities to collaborate broadened. there was Spanish translation and you were kind of in a mini UN setting as you had parallel languages being presented to the audience. Next slide. So we showed pictures. That was the easiest way to communicate, but how complex airways and diseases that I'm interested in get managed. And if you dig in too deep, next slide, you get into all the options and all the pathways, and then everyone falls asleep. So you stop there. Next. And I would say our city is one of the most compassionate cities, and we should continue to strive to make progress with uncomfortable areas that we deal with, and the sisters and all of the Rotarians teach us how to keep a heart at the center of our decisions and way forward. Next. I also look at the security side and defense side, and my brother-in-law was an Army Chief of Staff, so I also honor George and all the veterans here that remind me that this freedom we celebrate and the safety we have isn't free. We do have to train up and gear up for a future where threats are also part of our reality. Next slide. And some of the rewards, Randy, I thought you'll enjoy the top right picture where we acknowledge the chairperson last year, Sylvie, and she's done a great job at 125 Live as well. Next. And finally, going global, we put a roadmap together. It looks sometimes like a target practice, but you do get to the middle where inner peace and outer peace kind of resonate. And actually this morning I met with some astronauts that are helping us prepare a $10 million proposal for 3-site aerospace residency. And they live on the other side of this map, where we call it SDG 18. And that's what we'll hear more about over the next 3 to 4 years as funding comes available. Next. And yeah, just to close, thank you to all the veterans. I really enjoyed adding the dimension of Space Force and Air Force to my Army War College training several years ago. And thank you again for this time and this opportunity. Thanks. The thing here, I just have to close with this slide with my family, and they grow fast, and you've all helped me watch my kids and help my kids grow, so thanks for that.
Colin, as he just is showing there, will help us introduce some guests. We do have some guests today. Okay, we have Janie and Joe. Welcome to Rotary. And I notice it says on the company or organization, it says you are retired, and I am recently retired. So maybe tell me one thing you do in retirement.
Travel
To where?
all over.
And one thing you do in retirement?
Carry the bags when we travel.
That's kind of what I do. Well, welcome to Rotary. We're glad to have you here. Thanks for coming. As you were able to see on the pre-meeting slides, we want to congratulate all our members who have October birthdays and anniversaries as listed. Slides. And once again, I want to send around a sign-up sheet for our next meeting on, November 13th. And I think we'll start on this side this time because I started on that side last. Thank you. And remember, if you sign up, you'll automatically be entered into win a free lunch at the drawing that happens every other month at the end of the month. Does anyone have any announcements? Audrey?
We all know with this government shutdown, there are a lot of people with food insecurity. I told Channel One that I would pull a group of people together for tomorrow at 9, from 9 to 11. I've got about 8 people signed up. I could use a few more. So if anybody is available tomorrow from 9 to 11 at Channel One, show up, just let me know you're coming and I'll get you on the list. Thank you. And we're packing boxes.
Sarah has an announcement as well.
How many of you remember the show, Are You Smarter Than a Sixth Grader? You, all right. Well, next Thursday and Friday, we're gonna find out, are you more courageous than a seventh grader? The 3 Rotary clubs in Rochester, as part of our commitment to ethics and peace building, are sponsoring a courage retreat for all 7th graders at Willow Creek Middle School. The organization called Youth Frontiers is actually putting on the retreat, but I'd like to invite Rotarians to come at different times during the day if you'd like to observe what's happening during that day. Half of the 7th graders will participate on Thursday, half will participate on Friday. So in the Moccasin Flower this week, there was a sign up. I also have the sign up here. We've divided the day into 3 time slots, and there's space in each one of the time spots. So see me or go online and sign up if you'd like to see what happens during this day. And it will help us then plan, how are we going to keep this momentum going by working with Willow Creek through the rest of the school year. So thanks a lot.
Were there any other announcements? Mark Cripps has an announcement about bell ringing.
Thank you, President Steve. Hello, everybody. Guess what time of year it is? It's getting chilly out, chillier. You gotta start ringing bells for Salvation Army. I put some sheets on your tables and I appreciate if you could maybe take these with you and share it with your spouse, your kids, your neighbors, a friend that you maybe want to bring to Rotary or just to get together and ring bells for 2 hours. We start on the 15th. And we have extra outdoors this year. We only have a couple indoor. Normally we kind of flip it. We do more indoor than outdoor, but I got on the sign up a little late. I said, put us where you need us the most. And this is where they put us. So starting next Friday, we're at Highway Barlow. And you can look in the sheet and see where we're indoors and where we're outdoors. And it's a positive note that people have already started looking at the website because that's where we need to sign up. And they're signing up already, so that's great. Bill, you have a question? Saturdays. On May half, like Saturdays. Yeah, just like before, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. in 2-hour shifts. So, first one is November 15th at Hy-Vee Barlow. Yeah, we'll go from there. So if you could, please sign up and we'll get some bell ringing. And I'm also going to share this with the Tuesday and the Wednesday clubs too and see if they can help us out as well. Thank you.
I think Mark would probably agree that this is one of the ways that if you've been ringing bells in the past, this is a way for you to really get to know another Rotarian better than sitting around the table at any meeting, at any service project. You really have time, no matter how busy you are, to chat and to really get to know that other person. So it's kind of fun to be able to bring together. And I know always when you sign up, you don't know who you're signing up with until after you signed up, which is it's like opening a present. Yeah. So I want to make an announcement too that the Rotary Our Club is having the Christmas party December 18th. It'll be right here this year, not at Summerview like last year. So it'll be right here, a little easier, a little closer to travel home. It'll be probably similar to last year in that I'm not sure the details when we started. I think it was 5 to 6 social hours, 6 o'clock. But it'll be a sit-down dinner instead of a buffet dinner this time. We are working on entertainment, don't have the details worked out yet, but we'll make those announcements as we get a little closer to the date. So just keep that on the calendar. Great detail.
Steve, the site says Rotarians only. Is it not?
No.
Spouses?
And spouses as well. And we are making this announcement to formally invite the other clubs to come as well. I know that's an option, and they did show up last year. It was really fun to get to know them a little bit better too. So it should be a good evening, just like it was last year. So what is a peace poll? I want to just, before we introduce our speaker, we have a special, excuse me, a special recognition of our 100th anniversary last year. And it's to be presented by April Suter, who's the president of the Rochester Risers Rotary Club. And she'll go into maybe a little bit more about what the peace pole symbolizes. As you can see, it's right here. And you probably want to join me here at that podium for the presentation.
From a tall guy to a short person. Well, thank you, Steve. And congratulations on your 100 years making Rotary history. And the congratulations come out from the Rochester Rotary Risers. I am April Suter. Like Steve said, I'm the current president of the Risers. And it's my distinct pleasure to present this peace poll, which is multilingual, and comes from Rotary International. So that's where we got this from. And we decided it would be better to have it in multiple languages. It is designed for you to place this somewhere in the community. And when you do, we look forward to being a part of that christening. The peace pole is designed for public display to bring greater awareness and public recognition to Rotary and our focus on peace and peacemaking. Peace is one thing that we can never have enough of. May your next 100 years find us with greater peace due to the actions of Rotary and Rotarians, both here and across the globe.
I have a question, maybe. So is that up to us where we put it, or we gotta talk to somebody? I can't just stick it down.
On your front yard.
Yeah, right. But they don't want it to be on my personal residence. They want it, I'm assuming.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
And we're leaving that up to your club, as to where you would like to have that for recognition.
Yeah, we'll kind of make that a group effort in deciding, but it won't necessarily always be our club's decision. It might have input from the city,
With the city.
In a public place like that. So we'll have to go through the machinations of all that. But rest assured, it'll be someplace prominent, someplace where we can all enjoy it. And once again, April, thank you so much for the honor.
Yeah, and you know, maybe the Peace Plaza would be an acceptable place for the city. Who knows?
We'll work on that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Here's an example of the peace pole that is in the International Peace Park at the border of Canada and the United States in Waterton, Canada, the provincial park. But that's a public place, and it's a really good example of Rotarians getting together and creating a symbol of peace.
Are you in that picture?
Yeah, orange right here.
Oh,
In the back. Okay. Vicki, will you introduce our speaker for today?
So Karen Light Edmonds is with us today. She's executive director and co-founder of Project Legacy. And we invited her here because, you know, every week we have a speaker, we make an honorarium in their name to someplace, and Project Legacy is a group that we chose for this year. For more than 40 years, Karen Light Edmonds has dedicated her life to empower young people who have been disenfranchised, street involved, or overlooked by traditional systems. In 2008, what began as a free yoga class for 5 fifth-grade girls quickly grew into a movement of hope and ultimately became Project Legacy, a nonprofit that helps youth overcoming homelessness, poverty, and trauma through belonging, mentoring, and opportunity. Karen co-founded Project Legacy with her husband, John Edmonds, who was originally from New York City, who recently retired after 28 years as a social work manager for Olmsted County, where he developed programs for children and youth of color. Together, they have raised 7 children and are proud grandparents of 6. In 2015, Project Legacy became a member of the Global Homeboy Network. Founded by Jesuit priest Father Greg Boyle of Los Angeles, Homeboy Industries, the world's largest gang intervention, rehabilitation, and reentry program. Each summer, Project Legacy staff and youth attend training at Homeboy, learning how to build therapeutic communities grounded in love, purpose, and second chances. To date, Project Legacy youth have earned more than 150 college degrees and technical certifications, with 3 graduates this spring receiving master's degrees in global health from the University of Minnesota. Every participant is a first-generation college student, many the first in their families to graduate from high school, and today they serve the communities as social workers, teachers, nurses, mental health practitioners, carpenters, business owners, and nonprofit leaders. Please welcome Karen Light Edmonds.
Thank you, Vicki. It's so nice to be here. Thank you for this warm welcome. Before I start, I have to acknowledge April. I didn't know April was going to be here. I did a brief stint at United Way, working on some grants when I was in between jobs. And one time, and that was before Project Legacy was even a nonprofit. And one day April said to me, you know, you should write a grant. And I said, well, what? And she said, yeah, you could write a grant and you could get some money for what you're doing. I had no idea what a grant even was. And that's how long ago it was. That's how naive I was. Today we have a budget that is about $400,000 a year on a good year. We've lost 75% of our funding for next year, given the current climate. So we're doing a lot of revamping. But also, as the years evolved, I remember, and I don't know if April remembers this, but I was out at Whitewater with a group of kids. And April was there with her partner, and she had a book. Do you remember this? And she came up to me and she said, you need to read this. And I looked at it and I said, well, I've never heard of this. And she said, well, you need to read this book. This is just like the work that you're doing, and you're going to really resonate with the author of this book. And it was written by Father Greg Boyle from Homeboy Industries, and it's called Tattoos on the Heart. And if you ever want to know about the work of Project Legacy, that's a great place to start. April gave me the book. I think I finished it in a day. I did all the research I could to figure out where they were, how I could learn more about him, because everything that he teaches is what I was doing here in Rochester on a much smaller scale, because it intuitively felt to me to be the right thing to do. And I can tell you that I ran into opposition from every corner of every nonprofit, of every group, of every ethnicity, because they didn't believe in what I was doing. In 2015, I went out to Homeboy Industries with a couple of kids from Project Legacy. And a friend of mine said, "Are you going to stalk Father Greg?" And I said, "Well, I have been stalking Father Greg." And I met him, and we have since been out there 10 years. Every summer we go out, with the exception of 1 year not having funding and the other being COVID. Father Greg is going to be coming out to Rochester in the spring to do a benefit for Project Legacy. And we're working on those dates, we'll let you know. But, you know, that's how interconnected we all are. And so I thank April for that early work and her belief in me. And I can say that, you know, for all of us, we need a champion, right? And we need somebody that we can look to as a mentor. And for me, it's been Father Greg as a spiritual advisor, and just somebody to validate the work that we do, because the work at Project Legacy is so very different from anything that you're going to see, not just here, but around the state and around the world. I was born in Fargo, North Dakota. I was lucky enough to be born to my parents, who were both college teachers at NDSU for their entire career. I was born into a family where faith was very important and service was important. I was baptized, confirmed, married, and my father was buried in the same church. Grew up where it was instilled in us by my parents that we were fortunate. We were fortunate to have been born in the United States. We were fortunate to be English-speaking people. And I was fortunate to have two parents who instilled in us the expectation that we would give back, and that was what life was about. It was not to be rich. It was not to be better than anybody, but to find how can you help people and make their burden a little less. And so sometimes people say, "Why do you do this? Why do you do this work?" I do this work because I couldn't sleep at night if I was going to bed and had not tried to lessen the burden of somebody else. And that's not meant in a condescending way. It's meant as I really recognize that I was indeed lucky, and it was just luck, to be born in the United States and to be born with two parents who loved me, who always told me how proud they were of me, and who worked their entire life to make sure that their children had the opportunities to follow their dreams and succeed. And that's what Project Legacy is about. Project Legacy is about removing barriers, instilling hope, and then providing the opportunities and the resources. Because, you know, in the beginning, it was fine to just go swimming with a group of kids. It was fine to sit in a circle and talk about what do you want to do. It was fine to, you know, scrounge around and get people to donate shoes. But that wasn't really going to make a difference if you didn't have food, if you didn't have transportation. And a $1,000 scholarship is nice, but when you're trying to figure out how to get to college, how to have money for a food plan, and then how to pay for that college for the remainder of the time, that's not enough. And so with Project Legacy, this program has evolved from serving everybody, because if you read when we started, we had 4 and 5-year-old siblings that would come along. Well, I'll tell you that one of those 4 and 5-year-old siblings from 2008, about that time, is now a junior at the University of Minnesota. And her older siblings, one has a master's degree. The two others have bachelor's degrees. One is a mental health practitioner and the other is a nurse up in the cities. Those were the girls who were in our program when we first began. So watching those kids grow up, I have seen the changes in their lives, and now the changes in their own families. So the boys from 2015 who were 8th graders are now 30-year-old bankers in Rochester, Minnesota, for example. 30-year-old carpenters, 30-year-old social workers. And the thing that I love is to hear them say to me, Karen, my kids are never going to know what it was like to grow up the way I grew up unless I choose to tell them about it. They are not going to experience that. We had a young man who I met when he was at John Adams as an 8th grader, a member of a gang. And he's enrolled in Project Legacy, graduated from college. And his girlfriend's family was really pressuring him to marry her. And I remember him coming and talking to me and saying, they don't understand. And I had to sit down and say to them, when I get married, it will be when I can provide for my wife and any children who are born into our family. So his mother had survived a war. I'm not going to say the name of the country because I don't want him to be identified, but had survived a war with significant trauma, had bullet marks in the backs of her legs from running, and worked supporting herself as a prostitute. A lot of trauma. Didn't know his dad, and he had gone to work at 14 years old to keep the lights on in the house. But she also was an addict, and she also was a compulsive gambler. So it was his responsibility to take care of that family. He stayed with Project Legacy from the time he was 15, graduated from college, is now married, has a little girl. They own a beautiful home. His wife is also a professional. And that cycle's been broken. I was going to name his profession, but I'm not going to do that. That cycle's been broken. And that's really the work of Project Legacy. The other thing that I want to talk about a little bit here is what is possible. We are all here in the United States, and it doesn't matter which side of the aisle you're on right now. What we can all acknowledge is the division in our country, the division in our world. The hatred, the suspicion, the despair, the anxiety. What I want to tell you is I believe there's something different possible. It's healing through love. And I don't hesitate to use that word. And I look to Father Greg, who will freely use that word. And we freely use that word in Project Legacy. It's healing through love. You cannot demonize a person who is sitting across from you and who you are in conversation. I look at our talking circles, and that's the cornerstone of our work, where we come together. We run these circles 3 or 4 times a week. And there are guidelines to those circles. You listen with an open heart. You honor a talking piece so that everybody gets a chance to speak. You speak honestly about what's on your heart. You don't speak for a group of people. You can pass if you want. Everything that is said in the circle is confidential unless you receive permission to share that. And you speak with the intent, and you listen with the intent to understand. You know, much like your 4-way test here is what we do at Project Legacy. I'm often moved to tears when I step back just a little bit, because in those circles, we sometimes have people from 13 different countries. People who identify as male, female, non-binary, LGBTQ, straight, Christian, Hindu, Buddhist, Muslim, atheist. Now, if you can have that diverse a group today, sitting and having curious, respectful conversations, I believe that's possible elsewhere too. And that's really the work that we're doing here at Project Legacy. we're learning a different way to behave to people. A few years ago, maybe 5 now, we started doing intensive work with young people who had become ensnared in the commercial sex industry. What does that mean? Strippers, pimps. Many of these young people were up in Minneapolis, in the strip clubs up there, which is a horrendous, horrible, hell. It's hell. And every one of these young people that we've worked with have suffered as victims of sex abuse or physical abuse growing up. Oftentimes nobody knew about it. I have a background in special education, so it's very easy for me, just by listening to somebody read, to tell if perhaps they have a learning disability. And I bring that up because why do you end up in a strip club? You end up there because somebody has trafficked you there. You have some vulnerability that very adept predators have discovered. Biracial girls who feel that they don't fit in. Young women who have been kicked out of the home for talking back to mom's boyfriend. The doors being locked. Young girls with undiagnosed dyslexia. These are real life examples of young women that we've worked with. And our success is partnering with some of the amazing nonprofits here in Project Legacy, such as the Reading Center. I can't say enough great things about them. And during the pandemic, we worked together so that we could raise money. I mean, that's a very expensive program. Raise money, have a reduced rate, do assessments online that they did to diagnose this, and then arrange for individual tutoring sessions. So one of the young women who went through this program had been working in a strip club for 10 years, desperately wanted to get out of it, could hardly read, had no identifiable skills that she could think of, worked with one of our mentors and volunteers in working on that resume. She learned to read through the Reading Center. They also taught her how to be able to go forward in a career with severe dyslexia. How do you organize yourself? How do you listen? How do you take notes? Now, here we are 5 years later, she has not relapsed back into that industry, which is truly remarkable. Another one of our partners here in Olmsted County is Victim Services, who works with a lot of young people, well, people of all ages who have been victims of crime, but especially their safe harbor work. So they'll refer to us, we'll refer families back to them. We learn from each other with that work. But this young woman now, I'm happy to tell you, 5 years out, she sent me, and we keep in very close contact, she sent me an email and she said, Karen, thanks to Project Legacy, I am officially out of poverty. I have obtained my dream job. She's working as an operations manager at a large music venue up in Minneapolis. She got a job there and she was promoted over the last 3 years. So she's now making $65,000 a year with full benefits, and very proud to tell me what's in her 401k about every 3 months. She's been seeing an update. So those are all the things we know that are possible. We have a video here. Do you have one or two? One is a video. Is there a video?
I am not aware of.
I sent everything to you yesterday.
Oh.
I forwarded it to you.
Okay.
So there's a video maybe that our young people created themselves. And if we have that.
To Joseph C.H. or?
Yes, Joseph C.H.
Okay.
So in this video, there's a poem about the work at Project Legacy that one of our kids wrote. And then the actors in this are our students, and some of them that I've spoken with to you right now. Where does our funding come from? Our funding comes primarily from individuals, like the people in this room, but also large grants from the state, Minnesota DEED. We're on our third round of grants from them, which is has just been an incredible blessing. In addition to that, the Harper Family Foundation and the David and Sharon Hayes Family Foundation have funded us at extraordinary amounts that have allowed our young people to be able to finish college degrees. Quite a few years ago, Otto Bremer Trust, which Vicki and I were just talking about, has really changed direction. But many years ago, they met with me and said, well, you're just too grant dependent. You have too many grants here where you can fund you. You need to have more individual donors. So today, there it is. Today we have primarily individual giving. I'd say probably 60-70% individual giving, and the rest is grants from family foundations, but also some from the state of Minnesota. I will tell you that next year that has really changed. We've all been hit very hard with the new administration's direction. And a lot of funders, I think, are just afraid to fund the way that they used to be because it's been threatened that they'll be investigated and can actually lose their nonprofit status if we're doing DEI work. And there's just no way that Project Legacy could or even would try and pretend that what we're doing is not about diversity, equity, and inclusion. So this is a video that was, the poem is called The Ones in the Attic, and it is written and narrated by Dominique Jones. And the young people who are playing in this are all members of Project Legacy. So I'll step back so you can watch it.
We are who we are behind closed doors. The ones we leave in the attics of our minds that can only explore the words etched in the walls of our memories. Struggling. Failure. Disadvantage. Drowning in the limitations we were forced to carry in our lungs as we have had to swim in the roles of provider, survivor, while trying to discern ways to aim our lives higher, but we were never grounded. Just adrift in the sea of judgment where we always seem to see ourselves as less.
For you. The work that we do at Project Legacy, where does the money?
Is it possible to share it in our internal email?
It's a very large file, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, I know, but basically what we do every Monday, we are sending a weekly email, and there could be a link to that, and I believe that everyone could actually watch it at home.
Is it on your website?
No.
It's in a Google Drive. So basically it should be public. It's without doubt it's publicly shareable. I don't know why that sound doesn't work.
Okay. So the funding that we have at Project Legacy goes to pay for tuition, school supplies, housing. Approximately half of what we expend is for housing. Almost all of the kids that we work with have experienced homelessness growing up or are now homeless. And so when the dorms close, there's no place for them to go. That's their home right now. Without credit-worthy family members, they can't get housing. So Project Legacy works with different housing organizations, and we are the co-signers for them, helping them build credit in that way. We do financial literacy planning with all of the kids. They're all required to have what we call a legacy plan, where they identify their hopes, their goals, and then the barriers to reaching them. And then every month that's reviewed with them. We have a staff of 5. Every person who comes in is assigned a staff person who is trained, and they are the navigator for that young person. In addition, we're one of the few programs, I think maybe the only one anymore, that still is demanding that they be drug and alcohol free. I think most nonprofits have dropped that. But I was very happy when we went out to Homeboy Industries to hear them say that they are continuing with that requirement there, even though cannabis is legal. We both maintain the belief that you cannot heal what you can't feel. And we cannot determine if somebody can smoke weed or ingest an edible and not have any problem with that. But we do know that the majority of our young people have experienced complex trauma, and they're using or they're drinking to numb the pain. And they're not going to be able to get very far in life if all of these mental health issues that they have that have arisen from abuse are not dealt with. It's going to continue to come up. And so we have them sign something, and if we do feel that somebody is using, they agree that they'll do a drug test. If that comes up positive, they have 30 days to get a clean UA. If it is still positive, at that point, they're referred for an assessment and treatment. If they decline that, and it often happens, we just say, you're not ready for what we're doing yet. You're not kicked out, but just come back when you are ready, because we can't work with you if you're under the influence. If somebody's 21 and they're going out for a beer or a cocktail, we don't care about that. That's not a big deal. If you're falling down drunk in the bars, if you're posting videos on TikTok, we're going to see those, and then we'll have a conversation and deal with that. So having sat through many galas lately and talks that seem to never end, I'm going to close, ask you if you have any questions, and really thank you again for your donation to Project Legacy and being so gracious to host me today. Yes.
You have enrolled in the program?
Most years we have at least 100. This year we are down to 20 because we've lost so much funding. So instead of taking any new kids when they graduated this spring, we're only working with the 20 who are enrolled so that we can make sure they get through graduation.
How do you determine intake? How do you find you?
They all now hear about us through word of mouth. So they come to us. We don't have to advertise. We have an application that they have to fill out. And then we meet to determine if they qualify for the program. And then they have an interview. And what we've really learned is how to assess whether or not somebody is guidable. Do they want guidance? Will they accept guidance? Or are they just there to get the immediate need to fix a crisis? They're about to be evicted. They can't enroll in school. And that's all unfortunate, but do they really want to transform their lives? Are they willing to make that investment?
What does housing look like for people on your trial? Because you don't have the building anymore, correct?
Do you mean housing for them or our? Yeah, so we have a handful of kids that we pay their rent for. So it's like scholarship money. So for example, we have somebody who's graduating from nursing school this spring. As part of our financial package for her, we pay her rent every month so that she doesn't have to take on an added job. She already works at Mayo as a PCA and goes to nursing school full time. We don't want her getting another job that's going to affect her grades. For one young woman who is from a family of 13, we made a deal with her where if she would live in the dorm at the U of M, Project Legacy would pay the difference for that because she thought it would be cheaper to just live with her sister who is not married and has a 2-year-old in Minneapolis. Well, I think everybody here knows which way that was gonna go. And so we just made a deal with her and said, we'll pay the difference. If you remain in school, you keep coming to Project Legacy and you live in that dorm, because we knew, I mean, this was an incredibly talented, gifted young woman. And we wanted her to be on campus at the U of M where she could enroll in different clubs, where she didn't have to worry about food and who was going to pay that rent and babysitting.
So thank you so much for what you're doing. I had a question from the spiritual care and the interfaith side.
Yes.
How do you train your support team and your coaches for the complex polytrauma that we're going to be witnessing or involved with between gang violence and intercultural clashes?
Mm-hmm.
And thank you again for your work. And Kim Van Roy also is a great champ.
Yeah, I have to mention that too quickly. So many on our staff have come up through the program. So they've come through our healing, so they know. And how do we train? We go out to Homeboy. That's our big training event every summer. That's 2.5 days of intensive training out there. And it's ongoing in-servicing on what we believe at Project Legacy. And it's also ongoing in-servicing on working with trauma victims. And you know, imagine just for a moment what's going on in Gaza and Israel. Now think about Project Legacy, where you've got a board member who's Jewish, a young woman who is Muslim, who has discovered an influencer on TikTok who's a Holocaust denier. And so she comes to Circle so excited to share with all of us that she's learned that the reason for all the wars in history are because of the Jews. And there was an intake of breath by our staff and the careful question of, who told you that, Hanan? Well, this person. And, you know, instantly Alicia is Googling this person and she says, Hanan, he's a Holocaust denier. Well, I don't know what that means, but it's true. It's all true what he says. And so here we are, and we're not telling her you're wrong and he's crazy. That's a great opportunity to have a conversation about knowing your source, right? And how to be discerning. And it's an 1.5-hour conversation about anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. Did we change your mind? I'm not sure, but nobody left there angry. And nobody said, well, I'm never coming back to Project Legacy. Does that answer your question?
Father Greg was up in St. Paul just a few weeks ago, and one of the comments he made, it says we get passionate and clear about whatever our truth is, it's a partial truth. So our answer to number one there, is it true? It's true from our lens and our perspective, but how do we honor that space in between? And thank you for your answer.
Did you listen? Did you go up to hear him?
Yeah, well, I heard him through at home.
Yeah.
But, Chaplain Dotson was my contact up there.
Okay.
He's a military chaplain doing complex polytrauma with the Ukraine survivors.
We had a number of young people come to us from Bosnia during, after that, and are still here now. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. It's 1 o'clock. Thank you.
We would like to thank our speaker here, Edmons, for your wonderful presentation. And thanks for your presentation today. We will be careful to the Legacy Project in your name, as well as designating the remaining honoraria for their speaker all year to the Legacy Project. Before we thank our volunteers today, I would like to offer a special thanks to Vicki, Alan, and Ashok Patel for organizing the Pancakes for Polio event, which was October 25th at several of our local restaurants. And I think we got another picture up there from our experience after them. The event was well received at Hollandberry where we were, and Ashok and I were able to reconnect with the owner, Tasos Thomas, who I hadn't seen personally in a number of years, but it was nice to speak about our recent trip to Greece with him. There we go. We got some fun pictures that Ashok took. He's really good at that.
And I didn't think to take any, so.
Where were you?
Here.
Oh, here, okay. But it was fun of that.
Yeah, they have.
Thanks so much for doing that. Thanks to all participating volunteers for today's program. John Woodruff, Sergeant at Arms, Greg Hoskinson as a meal facilitator, Bill Victor did double duty with the 4-way test and greeter, and Ashok did his member spotlight. And Frank, thanks as always for giving the happy thoughts. And Colin and Vicki for your introduction of the speaker and our guests. Joseph, once again, for AV and tech support, and our speaker, Karen. Thank you so much. I would like to remind our Rotarians to go forth into the world and unite for good. We are adjourned.
No, thanks.